Sometimes you want more. More freedom, more meaning, a different life than the one you're currently living. But almost immediately, another feeling appears. Guilt. A quiet voice that asks, who do you think you are to want that? So you minimize the thought. You tell yourself to be grateful, to stop wanting so much. And eventually the desire fades into the background. But the question remains, why does wanting more sometimes feel wrong? 2. Problem deep dive. It usually doesn't happen in dramatic moments. It happens quietly. You imagine changing careers, then a thought interrupts. Other people have it worse. You consider moving somewhere new, but another voice says, you should appreciate what you already have. You think about pursuing something meaningful, and suddenly the desire feels selfish. So you shrink the thought. You tell yourself it's unrealistic, or unnecessary, or irresponsible. Over time, you develop a pattern. Whenever a deeper desire appears, your mind quickly balances it with guilt. Not because the desire is unrealistic, but because wanting something different can feel like betrayal. A betrayal of expectations, a betrayal of family narratives, a betrayal of the life you were supposed to follow. This is especially common for people who grew up hearing certain messages. Messages like, be grateful for what you have. Don't ask for too much. Other people have bigger problems. These messages are often well-intentioned, but they quietly shape how the brain interprets desire. Eventually, the mind creates an equation. Wanting more equals being ungrateful, and once that equation forms, ambition starts to trigger guilt automatically. But here's the deeper question. Why does the brain connect desire with guilt in the first place? 3. Reframe. Before assuming something is wrong with you, it helps to understand something about the human brain. Your mind is deeply shaped by early social conditioning. From childhood, the brain learns what behaviors lead to approval and what behaviors risk disapproval. When a child expresses desires that disrupt expectations, they sometimes receive subtle signals: disappointment, criticism, or emotional withdrawal. Even small reactions can teach the brain an important lesson. Certain desires create social tension, and because the brain prioritizes belonging, it adapts. It learns to regulate desire in order to maintain harmony. This doesn't mean ambition disappears, it just means ambition becomes filtered. Some desires feel safe, others feel uncomfortable, especially the ones that challenge the life path others expected for you. So if you sometimes feel guilty for wanting more, it doesn't mean your desires are wrong. It means your brain learned a strategy to protect relationships. But the protective strategy can eventually become restrictive, and understanding the mechanism behind it helps explain why. 4. Psychological mechanism. When you imagine a better or different life, the brain activates systems associated with motivation. Dopamine pathways begin anticipating possibility. The prefrontal cortex starts imagining future outcomes. But at the same time, another system activates, the brain's social evaluation network. This system includes areas like the anterior cingulate cortex and the amygdala. Its job is to predict how others might react to your choices. If your past experiences taught your brain that certain ambitions create tension, the prediction becomes negative, and that prediction produces an emotional signal: guilt. Psychologists describe guilt as a social emotion. Its purpose is to regulate behavior that might disrupt relationships. In simple terms, guilt acts like an internal alarm, not a signal that something is morally wrong, but a signal that something might affect social harmony. Here's a helpful metaphor. Imagine your brain as a navigation system. Desire creates a route forward, but the guilt system places warning signs on certain roads. Proceed with caution. Possible social consequences. Sometimes the warning is accurate, but other times it's outdated, based on old experiences that no longer apply. Yet the brain continues using the same map. So when you feel guilty for wanting more, it may simply mean your internal navigation system hasn't updated yet, which leads to an important realization. The guilt isn't proof that your desire is wrong, it's proof that your brain learned to associate desire with risk. And once you see that clearly, something begins to shift. 5. Practical framework. Changing this pattern isn't about eliminating guilt completely. Guilt is a natural emotional signal, but you can learn to interpret it differently. Here are 4 principles that help the brain update its map. Step 1. Identify the origin of the guilt. What to do? When guilt appears, pause and ask yourself a simple question. Whose expectation does this belong to? Why it works in the brain. This activates the prefrontal cortex, which helps distinguish between inherited beliefs and current values. Without this step, the brain treats every emotional signal as absolute truth. Example: you feel guilty about changing careers. You pause and reflect. Maybe the guilt comes from a family expectation of stability. Recognizing this separates the emotion from the decision itself. Step 2. Redefine gratitude. What to do? Allow gratitude and ambition to exist at the same time. They are not opposites. Why it works in the brain. The brain often uses simple binary categories: grateful or ambitious, satisfied or dissatisfied. Expanding the mental model reduces internal conflict. Example: you can appreciate your current life while still wanting something different. I'm grateful for where I am, and I still want to grow. This removes the false equation that creates guilt. Step 3. Start with private honesty. What to do? Before expressing desires publicly, acknowledge them privately. Write them down. Speak them internally. Why it works in the brain. Research in cognitive psychology shows that naming desires reduces emotional suppression. When desires remain unspoken, the brain treats them as unstable. Clarity stabilizes them. Example: you write in a journal, "I want a life with more creative freedom." Even if no action happens immediately, the desire becomes legitimate in your mind. Step 4. Test small steps. What to do? Instead of dramatic life shifts, experiment with small steps towards what you want. Why it works in the brain. Behavioral psychology shows that gradual action reduces threat perception. The brain updates its predictions through experience. Example: if you want a different career, you start learning one skill or exploring one opportunity. When nothing catastrophic happens, the brain recalibrates. The road no longer feels forbidden. 6. Integration. Here's the simple model to remember. Desire is the mind's way of exploring possibility. Guilt is the mind's way of protecting relationships. Neither one is the enemy. The problem appears when guilt becomes louder than desire, when the protective signal becomes a permanent restriction. But once you recognize guilt as an emotional prediction, not a moral verdict, you gain something powerful: perspective. You can listen to the signal without letting it decide your entire future, and slowly the brain updates its map. The roads that once felt dangerous begin to feel possible. 7. Quiet, empowering close. Wanting more doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means your mind is imagining a different version of your life, and imagination is one of the brain's most important tools. Every meaningful change in human history began the same way. Someone allowed themselves to want something that didn't exist yet. So the next time guilt appears when you imagine more, pause, listen to it, but also ask a quieter question. What if this feeling isn't warning you that your desire is wrong, if simply reminding you that the life you want is different from the one you were taught to expect? And sometimes, that difference is exactly where growth begins.